It's not uncommon at all to have insurers in accidents involving multiple vehicles to point the finger at one another and to really try to minimize their potential exposure or liability out of an accident. A lot of times I'll see insurers who you'll have a defendant in the case who clearly was at fault and who was the primary party who was responsible for causing an accident involving, let's say, two or three other vehicles. That insurance company oftentimes will take a position, and it doesn't matter really which insurance company we're talking about. That insurance company often will take a position that says, hey, our insured is 70% responsible for it, trying to really cut off 30% of their liability. That is not at all uncommon in a case that is pre-suit, that is before you file a lawsuit, to hear that sort of thing from an insurance company. They're trying to get the other insurance companies to chip in to settle the case. What you'll often find though is that after you file a lawsuit, after you show them that, hey, we're not going to accept you taking less than 100%, then you can obviously go and get more money from the other insurance companies. But we're not going to accept you taking less than 100% of liability out of this case. We're going to hold your person fully responsible for this. Whenever you actually file a lawsuit, a lot of times what you'll figure out is that the insurance company will fold on that. They'll pretty quickly realize, hey, this person is not going to accept a small or decreased amount of money just because we're trying to apportion some liability over to the other insurance companies or the other people who are involved in the accident. So it's really important that you know whether or not your lawyer is willing to take a stand for you and to say, hey, we're not going to let them get away with this little game of trying to get rid of some of their liability, throw it over to the other party to save themselves some money. Whether or not your lawyer is going to be willing to stick in there with you to hold that person responsible, and then ultimately you can get a really good recovery out of the case. I had a case recently where there was a party who was clearly at fault for the primary cause of an accident. They did that same sort of game where they tried to attribute some fault to the other party. The other party's insurance company obviously is saying, no, we're not at all at fault. We didn't set this thing into motion. It was that guy who is trying to throw some blame at us who caused the entirety of the accident. We put the case into suit. That insurance company folded up the primary party. But then we also had the additional benefit of the party who really didn't cause the accident left the scene of the accident. So they had what's called punitive damages exposure in the case. We settled against the party who is actually at fault for causing the accident, but then because they had a little bit of fault from the party who actually left the scene, that insurance company ended up paying the entirety of their policy limits as well. So it worked out really well for the client. She really got a bonus by virtue of just being willing to hang in there for the long haul, let us put the case into litigation, and then get a really good settlement out of it. So it illustrates the importance of having a lawyer who's willing to actually not let them get away with it and who's willing to put the case into suit and fight for you just a little bit longer, and then you got a real recovery out of the case. Hope you all are doing well and staying safe. I hope to see you soon.